that Jay Prince is the prosecution's witness in the murder of TakeOff. How do we forget that? People act like they don't know that Jay Prince will be testifying in the TakeOff murder. Did we forget that? Also, how do we forget that Mike Prince is a co-actor to the murder of TakeOff? Come on, gang, here go the paperwork. Did we forget that Mike Prince is a co-actor for the murder of TakeOff?
Jay Prince Jr., son of legendary Rap-A-Lot Records founder Jay Prince, the same man who hosted the party the night TakeOff got killed.
Rapper TakeOff was shot and killed in downtown Houston outside of a bowling alley.
This comes from police search warrants in which they laid out evidence in the case and what led them to arrest Patrick Clark for that murder.
Is now officially listed as a prosecution witness in the murder trial. Let that sit with you for a second. The man who threw the party, the man whose event TakeOff attended, the man whose name was circled in court documents, that man is now sitting on the prosecution side of the table. But here's where it gets really crazy.
According to the warrant, TakeOff and Quavo, members of the group Migos, were in town to visit a music producer named Jay Prince. They played basketball at a local gym and then had a private party at the bowling alley on October 31st.
While Junior is getting ready to testify, his own people, his family, are named in those same documents as a co-actor to the murderer. Named in the paperwork, connected to the killing, but never not once charged with a single crime. How does that happen? How do you get named in a murder case as a co-actor and just walk free? Y'all need to hear this, because nobody is really connecting all the dots. So let me be the one to do it. Let me break it down for you from the very beginning. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to November 1st, 2022. Halloween night bleeds into the early morning hours. Houston, Texas is alive. There's a private party popping at 810 Billiards and Bowling on Fannin Street, right in the heart of downtown Houston. Now, who throws the party? Jay Prince Jr. That's important. That's not a small detail. That's everything. For anybody who doesn't know, Jay Prince Jr. is the son of James Prince, the most powerful man in Houston hip-hop, arguably in all of hip-hop. His father built Rap-A-Lot Records from the ground up. He put the Ghetto Boys on the map, helped launch Drake's career, and has been one of the most feared and respected names in the culture for 3 decades running. When the Prince family throws a party, it's not just a kickback, it's an event. It's a statement. And that night, the people who showed up included some of the biggest names in rap. Quavo and TakeOff, 2/3 of Migos, were both there. Quavo had been linked up with Jazz Prince, another one of Jay Prince Sr.'s sons, who had just been honored by the city of Houston with his own special day. That's why the Migos were even in Houston to begin with. Quavo posted videos on his Instagram story that night showing him, TakeOff, and Prince Jr. all together, vibing, having a good time, no sign of what was about to happen. Jay Prince Jr. was there, and so was his cousin, Mike Prince, also a son of the Prince family, also there that night, also present for everything that went down. That's your cast of characters. Now let's talk about how the night went left. Everything was reportedly smooth until a dice game broke out, a dice game with high stakes. According to Houston police investigators, an argument erupted during or after that dice game, and that argument involved Quavo. Now, was TakeOff even part of the dice game dispute? According to Houston police, no. They said publicly, without any hesitation, that TakeOff was an innocent bystander. He wasn't in the argument, he wasn't the target, he was just there, in the wrong place at the worst possible moment. At approximately 2:30 to 2:40 in the morning, shots ring out. More than 30 people were in that crowd. Chaos, people running, and in the middle of all that, Kirsnick Kari Ball, 28 years old, known to the world as TakeOff, takes a bullet to the head and back. He dies at the scene. 2 other people also got shot that night. They were rushed to hospitals in private vehicles, not even ambulances, and they survived. But TakeOff didn't make it. Now here's where things started getting wild almost immediately after the shooting, even before a single arrest was made. Video started circulating online, and in that video, you can see Jay Prince Jr. walking past TakeOff's body. Quavo is yelling for help, and Prince Jr. is just walking. The internet went crazy. People were calling him cold-hearted, calling him suspicious, calling him everything. But here's what Jay Prince Sr. came out and said about that moment. He said his son actually rushed to TakeOff and tried to help him, reached behind TakeOff's head to administer aid. That's why when you see Prince Jr. walking toward the bathroom moments later, he had TakeOff's blood on his hands. He was going to wash it off. Prince Sr. also emphasized that the few seconds of video people saw online was just a tiny slice of an entire hour-plus situation where Junior and cousin Mike had been with TakeOff from the very beginning of the night. So publicly, the family was playing cleanup, defending themselves, saying everything was above board. But that's just the beginning, though. 31 days after TakeOff's murder, on December 1st, 2022, Houston police announced an arrest. The man they charged? Patrick Xavier Clark, 33 years old, a DJ and nightclub promoter who went by the name DJ Pat. Now let me tell you how they locked him down, because the evidence was actually pretty damning. Surveillance footage from 810 Billiards and Bowling caught everything. And what that footage showed was Patrick Clark holding a wine bottle in one hand and a firearm in the other, and firing his gun in the direction of the crowd, in the direction of TakeOff. Investigators used the fingerprints lifted off that wine bottle Clark left at the scene to identify him. They also had his phone records and vehicle data connecting him directly to the crime. On top of that, when they moved to arrest him, they found out Clark had already applied for an expedited passport and had flight itineraries to Mexico. The man was literally trying to leave the country. He was arrested the same day he picked up that passport with a large amount of cash on him. The streets already knew. The law confirmed it. Patrick Clark was the one who pulled the trigger. But, and this is the part people slept on, he wasn't the only name that popped up in connection with that night. A second man, Cameron Joshua, 22 years old, was arrested on November 22nd, just 3 weeks after the shooting. His charges? Unlawful possession of a weapon by a convicted felon. Court documents revealed that surveillance video and an anonymous witness placed Joshua at the scene with a firearm. And here's the kicker. Cameron Joshua was widely believed to be a close associate of J. Prince Jr., reportedly connected to Mob Ties Records, Prince Jr.'s label. He was allegedly the man seen standing right next to Prince Jr. at the dice game, and many people online were speculating he was one of the first people to open fire that night. His attorney came out and said there was nothing to suggest his client had anything to do with the shots that killed TakeOff, but he was still charged with a weapons offense. He was still at that party. He was still in that circle. Now let's talk about what really set the internet on fire: the bond conditions. When Patrick Clark was processed through the courts and given his conditions of release, prosecutors and the court listed specific people he was prohibited from contacting. These are the people the state considers prosecution witnesses and protected parties. People who are critical to building the murder case. And when those documents became public, one name got circled hard by the streets. J. Prince Jr., right there in the bond paperwork, listed among the prosecution's witnesses. The man whose party it was. The man who was standing there when TakeOff was shot. The man who, according to his own father, had TakeOff's blood on his hands. He's a witness for the prosecution. That means the state of Texas is planning on calling J. Prince Jr. to the stand to testify against Patrick Clark. The man throwing the party is now a key piece of the government's case. But wait, it gets worse. Here's where people really started connecting the dots, and here's where the narrative gets complicated in a way that most outlets have been tiptoeing around. In those same court documents, or documents related to this case, Mike Prince is referenced, and the language used is not soft, not vague. Mike Prince is referred to as a co-actor to the murderer. Let me say that again slowly so it lands the way it should. Company actor to the murderer. In legal terms, a co-actor doesn't necessarily mean someone physically pulled a trigger. It can mean someone who participated in the criminal activity, someone present, involved, connected to the actions that led to the crime, someone who was part of the situation in a way that makes them legally tied to what happened. And on top of that, part of the bond conditions for Patrick Clark specifically prohibit him from being around Mike Prince. The court is saying this man cannot go near the people connected to this murder, and Mike Prince is on that list. But here's the question the whole internet is asking, and nobody seems to have a straight answer to. Why has Mike Prince never been charged? Not a single charge, not weapons, not conspiracy, nothing. The same documents that helped put Patrick Clark in the defendant's chair reference Mike Prince as a co-actor, and Mike Prince is still out here. Free, walking around, no handcuffs, no courtroom appearances, no criminal exposure. How does that work? Now, before y'all jump to conclusions, let's be clear about what we know versus what we're speculating. The family's position has always been that everyone there was just attending a party and that no one in the Prince family had anything to do with the killing. J. Prince Sr. went on record to clarify what people saw in those videos. He was very vocal about defending his sons and his cousin, but at the same time, You can't look at those documents and act like Mike Prince's name being in there means nothing. The courts don't just randomly attach names to murder case documents. These things are deliberate. The prosecutors saw something. The investigators saw something. They put that name in the paperwork. And yet, no charges. Now, is that because Mike Prince truly had nothing to do with pulling a trigger? Maybe. Is it because the state is saving him as a potential cooperating witness or using him as leverage to build the case against Clark? Possibly. Is it because the Prince family's legal power and connections in Houston made it difficult to move on them? That's a conversation the streets have been having for years. Keep it 100. J. Prince Sr. is not a man prosecutors in Harris County take lightly. This is a man with deep roots in the city, deep connections in the culture, and the resources to fight anything thrown at his family. His attorney was Kent Schaffer, one of the most high-profile criminal defense lawyers in Houston. And here's another wild detail. Patrick Clark, the accused murderer, just recently hired Kent Schaffer as his lead defense attorney heading into trial. Think about that. The Prince family's lawyer is now defending the man accused of killing TakeOff at the Prince family's party. The same lawyer. That connection is sitting in the open for anyone to see. What does that mean? I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just making sure you see everything on the table. Now here's where the case gets even more layered, because it's not just about who was there that night. There are legal complications that have been quietly stacking up and threatening to derail this whole prosecution. Remember Houston Forensic Science Center? In April 2023, a forensic analyst named Rochelle Austin was found to have mishandled evidence samples, processing the wrong sample after skipping a required verification step and violating chain of custody procedures. She was fired, and when Harris County prosecutors started doing their due diligence, they found that this one analyst's errors impacted nearly 400 cases, and TakeOff's murder was one of them. A Brady notice was filed in the Clark case. Now, for everybody who doesn't follow legal proceedings, a Brady notice is when prosecutors alert the defense that there's evidence in the case that could actually help the defendant, evidence that might challenge their guilt or impeach a witness. The defense can then use that in cross-examination. So not only does Clark have Kent Schaffer, one of Houston's most dangerous defense attorneys, going to bat for him now, he also has a Brady notice potentially creating holes in the forensic evidence. That is not a small thing. That could be the entire foundation the prosecution built their case on, and it's got a crack in it. Clark has maintained his innocence from day one. His attorney has always claimed self-defense, and now with a new high-powered legal team fresh off a strategy shift and walking into trial with potential evidence issues, Patrick Clark may be more confident about his odds than people realize, which makes J. Prince Jr.'s testimony even more critical. Think about it. If the forensic evidence is compromised, the prosecution needs eyewitnesses. They need people who were there. They need someone who can stand up in that courtroom and tell the jury what they saw with their own eyes. And J. Prince Jr., he was right there. He was the host. He was standing in that environment when the shots were fired. So when you look at the court documents and see his name listed as a prosecution witness, that's not just a formality. That might literally be one of the most important pieces of the state's case. They may be leaning on Prince Jr. to fill the gaps that the forensic problems created. That's a massive amount of pressure to be under. You're the son of one of the most powerful and feared men in Houston hip-hop. You're being asked to testify in a high-profile murder trial. And your own family member and your cousin Mike has his name in those same documents connected to the crime. No cap, that's a difficult spot to be in. Now let me zoom out, because this story is bigger than just one trial. This story is about power, about loyalty, about the cost of being in certain rooms at certain moments in time. TakeOff was 28 years old when he died, one of the most technically gifted rappers in his generation, underrated by fans, respected by every real one in the culture. Migos changed the sound of hip-hop in ways that people still don't fully credit. And TakeOff, the quiet one, the focused one, the one who let the music speak, he deserved better than to be an innocent bystander who caught a bullet at somebody else's dice game argument. His mother, Titania Davenport, filed a civil lawsuit against 810 Billiards and Bowling, saying they failed to provide adequate security for that event. She lost her son. She deserves answers. She deserves accountability. And now, more than 3 years later, we're still waiting for a trial to actually happen. Still waiting for a jury to hear the evidence. Jury selection for Patrick Clark's trial is set for November 5th, 2026, with the actual trial beginning November 9th. That's more than 4 years after TakeOff was killed, y'all. 4 years of delays, 4 years of hearings, postponements, attorney changes, forensic notices, bond conditions, and legal maneuvering. 4 years of the Prince family navigating being in the middle of a murder case without being charged. 4 years of Mike Prince's name sitting in those documents without any criminal accountability. And now, right as trial approaches, Jay Prince Jr. is locking in his position as the prosecution's witness. His own cousin is named in the case documents. The family's former lawyer is now defending the accused killer. The forensic evidence has complications, and the whole culture is watching. Let me be clear about one thing. I'm not here to convict Mike Prince in this video. The courts haven't charged him. The police haven't arrested him. Houston law enforcement has publicly said their only suspect in TakeOff's murder is Patrick Xavier Clark. I respect that boundary. I'm not in that courtroom. I don't have the full discovery. I don't know everything investigators know. What I'm telling you is what the documents show. What I'm telling you is what's sitting in the public record. What I'm telling you is that when you add it all up, the witness list, the co-actor designation, the bond prohibitions, the family lawyer connection, the forensic mess, the 4-year delay, it paints a picture that should make every real hip-hop head sit up and pay attention, because this isn't just about one murder trial. This is about the intersection of street politics, hip-hop power, and the criminal justice system. It's about how certain names can move through a murder investigation differently than others. It's about how money and connections influence who gets charged and who doesn't. It's about whether TakeOff's family, his mama, his uncle Quavo, his cousin Offset, is actually going to get justice, or whether this whole thing quietly fades out on a technicality. Real recognize real, and the real ones know when something doesn't add up. So let me put it all together for you in a clean timeline, no cap, no spin. November 1st, 2022. Jay Prince Jr. hosts a private party at 810 Billiards and Bowling in Houston. TakeOff and Quavo attend. Mike Prince is also there. A dice game erupts into an argument. TakeOff, who was not involved in the dispute, is shot and killed at 2:30 to 2:40 a.m. He was 28, an innocent bystander. November 22nd, 2022. Cameron Joshua, a man connected to Jay Prince Jr.'s mob ties records, is arrested on weapons charges related to the night of the shooting. He's placed at the scene with a firearm. December 1st, 2022, Patrick Xavier Clark is arrested and charged with murder. Evidence includes surveillance video, fingerprints on a wine bottle, phone records, vehicle data, and the fact that he was caught trying to flee the country to Mexico. December 2022 through January 2023, Clark appears in court. His initial bond conditions name Jay Prince Jr. as someone he cannot contact. Prosecutors ask for Prince Jr.'s name to be removed from the prohibited contact list, suggesting to some observers that Prince Jr.'s cooperation with the state was being managed carefully. Clark eventually posts $1 million bond and is released under house arrest. January 2023, Jay Prince Sr. goes on a podcast to defend his son and cousin Mike, explaining the videos people saw online and insisting the family had nothing to do with TakeOff's death. May 2023, a grand jury indicts Patrick Clark on murder charges. April 2024, a Brady notice is filed in Clark's case after a Houston Forensic Science Center analyst is terminated for mishandling evidence. The TakeOff case is one of nearly 400 affected. 2025 to 2026. Court documents emerged that clearly show Jay Prince Jr. listed as a prosecution witness, with Mike Prince referenced in connection with the case as a co-actor who is prohibited from contact with the defendant, but who has never been charged. March 2026, Patrick Clark hires a brand new legal team including Kent Schaffer, the same attorney who previously represented the Prince family, along with attorneys Dan Cogdell and Anthony Asso. November 2026, jury selection November 5th, trial begins November 9th. There it is, every dot connected, in sequence. You tell me what you see. So at the end of all this, I gotta ask the questions that nobody in mainstream media wants to ask straight up. If Mike Prince is named in legal documents as a co-actor to this murder, and co-actor doesn't mean spectator, it means involved in the criminal activity, then why has there been zero movement toward holding him accountable? Is the answer political? Financial? Is someone protecting him? Or is there a legal reason the public isn't fully aware of? Why did Jay Prince Sr.'s family attorney end up on the defense team for the man accused of killing TakeOff at the Prince family's event? Is that a coincidence? Is that just the way Houston's legal ecosystem works? Or is there something more deliberate happening? And perhaps most importantly, when Jay Prince Jr. takes that stand and testifies in front of a jury, what exactly is he going to say? What did he see? What does he know? And how close does his testimony get to the people in his own bloodline? TakeOff's name deserves to be spoken with respect. He was one of the most gifted artists of his generation. His mother is still grieving. His uncle Quavo has been vocal about carrying that pain every single day. His family deserves closure. His family deserves the truth. And the truth, based on everything sitting in those court documents, is more complicated than what most people have been willing to say out loud. But I said it because that's what we do here. Drop a comment below and tell me, do you think Mike Prince should have been charged? Do you think J. Prince Jr.'s testimony will actually matter at trial? And do you think Patrick Clark is going to walk, especially with the forensic complications and the new high-powered legal team? Stay locked in, because once this trial starts in November 2026, things are about to get very loud, very fast. And when they do, you already know where to come for the real breakdown. We'll be here. No filter, no games, just facts. Peace.